Welcome to the DonDiva Coaching Talk Radio Coaching evening edition of the DonDiva Coaching Radio Show. We'll start off our evening with a dynamic coaching hot topic of the day regarding some new things that are happening with DonDiva Coaching. I figured I would come back with a bang and definitely let you guys know that we have a lot of good content. I want to make sure that my viewers understand that we are expanding. The website is now all inclusive, has a lot of opportunities and options to be able to explore certain subject matters such as levels of resources that are good for anyone and everyone, whether it's ADD, ADHD, anger management, anxiety. We talk about mental health disorders. We also talk about CBT, DBT, and we have other different things such as levels of worksheets for people to work on and to do self-help and improvement like DBT. We also talk about different things such as depression, divorce, domestic violence. We've even gotten expanded into eating and specialty things like that, like eating disorders and whatnot, grief. We also are doing things now to do expanded guided meditation. We also work with special classes of people, which are the LGBTQIA community. So we're absolutely welcoming anyone of that community. Also, we have a new section on parenting and PTSD and trauma. Also, we have things to help with relaxation, self-care, mental health, and also self-help, as well as stress management and learning how to do different things like that. Our efforts now are to provide tools for people to be able to move past a level that they normally can, but we are trying to make sure that we're all inclusive, one-stop shop to make sure we take care of everything. The types of clients that we normally will see on a regular basis outside of specialty would be, and just I want you guys to understand our client base is a vast array, but when we have specialty, we have the specific areas of expertise, and we're just going to go over that, so just so we're clear. We do mainly executive and corporate coaching, and that's also to cover like human resources departments interested in like hiring an external coach and things like that. We also do executive management and things like that. We also make sure we do things to prevent burnout, and also for workshops that allow people to be able to go work on different things that support a level of company culture and things like that, and nomenclature that will help in strategic planning, processing, re-engineering the company vision, mission, and goals, alongside adding a 360-degree peer review for the people that attend the training, and also for the executives, managers, and management staff to be able to find a way to get their organizational culture together and working well. We also do small business coaching, which you'll see on there, and it's bookable, and we stay making sure that we take care of our entrepreneurs, our business owners and managers of small to mid-sized companies, and also for larger companies. That's where the executive and corporate coaching comes from. We also do personal life coaching, which is life planning, life vision and enhancement, and then we also do extreme levels of self-care. We have a whole area on that, and we're going to go into a minor coaching about doing certain things for yourself, such as health and fitness, financial freedom, organizational levels, children, teens, and women, and also single fathers that are, and college students as well. That's one of our main things. And we also do career training and transition coaching, which encompasses people who are transferring their life into a level of a different identity, as to if they had a big career change or a decision to make, or people in corporate jobs are considering another one that might be in a different area, and allowing them avenues to help them to de-stress. So with that being said, I wanted to go over the types of things with de-stressing. Part of de-stressing is realizing that you are stressed. And part of that is understanding there is a level of where you have to understand the effects of stress on the body, and when you get into fight or flight. And part of that is when you get into fight or flight, you tend to think that, your body protects you normally when you're in danger, but when you have a big life change, you feel threatened, the fight or flight response is automatically triggered, and several psychological changes prepare you to confront or flee from the situation, which you might perceive either as a threat or it becomes overwhelming. So what are the symptoms of fight or flight, or when you're stressed? Increased heart rate, racing thoughts, difficult to concentrate, dizziness and lightheadedness, nausea, kind of like that nausea, upset stomach, diarrhea, the levels and depths of where you start to feel a little sick, right? So when we think about things, we talk about shallow, rapid breathing. We talk about shaking, sweating, tense muscles. So when we think about this, how is stress triggered? When we say triggered, it doesn't mean looking down the barrel of a rifle. It means that we realize that our life is overwhelming and our body's starting to kick in that cortisol. It's starting to make us think that, oh my God, our life is out of control. I don't know what I need to do. What I mean by our is the understood you. Like basically, if it was me in your shoes, you feel like your life is out of control. Things are just not working the way you want to, and you're used to your normalcy, your identity of what you identify with your life, lifestyle, or whatever you had going on that had your routine that kept you in a level of comfort. So, in that, we think about threats, emotional well being. What is emotional well being? Emotional well being is literally being well and keeping control of your emotions within a certain set median mode and range. When your life is on fight or flight mode or constantly topsy turvy, that's when your body goes into overdrive and it starts to become a behavioral management, emotional management set of situations, and it causes the level of fear of embarrassment, or also levels of like when you have fear of your life coming out of control to where even if you had a presentation, it can trigger a level of upset, fight or flight response. In these cases, the symptoms can be more harmful than they are good, and an increased heart rate and sweating might help you to escape from that. But for a long-term level fight or flight, that is not healthy for anybody. Nobody in the right good sound mind wants to feel a level of upset and stress, and prolonged stress is not healthy. Now, is fight or flight a response bad? In most cases, no. Everyone will experience a fight or flight response at times to varying degrees. Usually it's natural, healthy, and not a problem. However, the fight or flight mode that leads to excessive anger, anxiety, prolonged stress, or other problems, it might be time to get an intervention and someone to come in and say, hey, look, sis, look, bro, it's time for you to get some help with what's going on, because at this point in time you're acting different, you don't seem the same, something's wrong. You don't want to be at a level of how it was in that movie Why Did I Get Married, where Janet Jackson was looking crazy and she was actually proactive Patty all the time, able to manage her life, everybody else's life, but when her life became out of control, she became more withdrawn, anxiety ridden, easily triggered and upset, and that was from prolonged stress and not dealing with something that was causing a fight or flight syndrome. So, how can I manage the fight or flight response? Well, in addition to the fight or flight response, your body can also initiate an opposing relaxation response. So you have to tap into the levels of parasympathetic, sympathetic nerve and response that is feasible, that lets you be mindful of where you're at with the stress. And then on top of that, those symptoms of relaxation response counteract fight or flight, such as slower and deeper breathing, relaxed muscles, slower heart rate, and the relaxation response can be triggered by using relaxation skills, deep breathing, or progressive muscle relaxation. And the reason why I wanted to go over this is we all have things that happen in life. We all have a time in our life where things are just not right. It causes us to become less mindful, we become less gracious, and we begin to feel like everything is supposed to be a certain way. And then we have to think about the positive steps to our well-being. If we don't have positive steps to our well-being, which is to be kind to ourselves, to exercise regularly, to take up a hobby or learn a new skill, have some fun and be creative. Sometimes learn how to just do nothing, peace, be still, and relax. Just remember to eat healthy, balance your sleep, connect with others, have a support system and things like that, and see the bigger picture, or accept things. It is as it is, and it is what it is. Because when we don't think about positive well-being, we begin to not be able to problem solve and look at things as the glass half full than the glass half empty. And we have to learn how to get into relaxation techniques and self-care. And I wanted to give some tips on self-care that can help us with the stress exploration and stress management. Because the main thing is trying to recognize that you are stressed. And part of that is physically, emotionally, behaviorally understanding that. Figure out how the stress affects you and what's most troubling about it. Then list 2 or 3 things you can do to reduce stress symptoms, or times where you notice symptoms are less intense. In that, this is is what helps you to recognize your stress and then go into a level of doing things to either get social support or explore that stress in a deeper manner with a LSW, MSW, a life coach who fills and bridges the gap, or sitting with a psychiatrist, psychologist, or a specialist if you're having trauma and PTSD. And then understanding what you're worrying about versus, hey, can I fix it right now? What is my locus of control? And then finding good ways to problem solve in the levels of being stressed. You know, you have to ask yourself, when you define a problem, it might feel vague or confusing, and then you worry about solving that problem, and then you also need to be able to solve that problem so it will help to organize information and see new angles and identify the most important issues. And you have to ask yourself the who, what, when, where, and why. When and where does your problem occur? What is the cause of your problem? Think about all the possibilities, consider your own behavior, and then sometimes after that, consider external factors. And if your locus of control is yourself, then fix yourself. If it's not yourself, then it's external factors. Then define your problem. Then from there, develop multiple solutions that work for you. Because you have to write down the solutions to your problem without thinking of alternative solutions just off the cuff. You need to be able to think to yourself, what are solutions to a problem? And then what are the first ideas that pop in my head to make that happen? And then assess your solutions and choose one. Because you have to think about the solution, strengths, and weaknesses, just like SWOT analyzing your life. You've got to spring clean. You've got to emotionally clean out your mind and emotional behavior, and then on top of that, to look at things at a cognitive point of view and see if you're not the problem, or if it's external, the locus of control of that problem, and is it something that I can solve right then and there. And that's where you look at the strengths and weaknesses after you look at the solutions that you put there. And a combination of multiple solutions are better than one idea and just running with it. And then you have to think about implementation of those solutions and things like that. And to ensure you follow with your solution, it's best to think about how and when it will be implemented. Without doing so, solutions are difficult or hard to alleviate the stress. And then when you think about that, how can that stress be avoided? Or can you slip your mind back into a time where you were able to easily solve that problem? You have to think and weigh, is that problem bigger than the last one, or is it just something that I cannot control it, and there's something I have to do in between to find a level to problem solve and de-stress? Or I'm going to have to find a way to schedule the solution to come after I've taken time to take care of myself, which is where we get into the last but not least, protective factors of your mental health and emotional health, because we'll talk about how when you recognize stress and things like that and solutions and management of your life, you have to find a way to protective factor things that contribute to your mental health and allow yourself to be resilient in the face of challenges. Because someone with a lot of protective factors, such as a strong relationship, healthy coping skills, will be better equipped to overcome it and life's obstacles. Many protective factors are out of your control. And again, like we said, the locus of control. We have to think about examples of that: genetics, neighborhood, or if it's not a neighborhood, if it's your work environment, things like that, where you grew or where you can grow from, or if your family cannot be changed, or family dynamics, or if you have a spouse or a relationship or a marriage that may not be immediately overnight fixed. Then think about plenty of factors that can be controlled. You choose the people in your life, how to cope with problems, and how you'll spend each day. By focusing on what you can control and building up these protective factors, you'll improve your ability to cope with many of life's challenges. And think about all these different things that are your protective factors. Think about your social support. Do you have ability to talk about problems? People will ask a practical level of Q&A here, but you have to think about the weakness and the strongness of that Q&A and the feelings of love, intimacy, and friendship if there's being reciprocated in that social support. Then you think about coping skills, the ability to manage uncomfortable emotions in a healthy way, and awareness of one's own emotions and recognition of how they influence behavior. And then you have to look at your strengths, your weaknesses, and the moderate levels of in-between levels of being in a gray area with it. And also look at your physical health, adequate exercise or physical activity, or balanced, healthy diet. Think about your medical compliance. Are you actually taking medicines as prescribed? If you're needing med management, then are you going to see a therapist, psychiatrist, psychologist who has the nomenclature of being ARP, MD, or things like that, or physician's assistant who can assess your physical health, your overall mental health? And then on top of that, figure out how you can get your life back and work towards a sense of purpose, meaningful involvement in your work, your education, or your overall daily life. And if, for an example, if you are a parent, to get back into parenting and being happy with it. And then on top of that, if it's your work and your identification is with your work, then you align with being a person who has had a career over a span of XYZ 3/4 years. Then you're thinking about, dang, my identity was with my career. And if you're going and doing a career change or whatnot, that causes that fight or flight syndrome. So then you have to figure out, what is my identity outside of my job? And then on top of that, understanding your personal value and living with accordance to those values, whether it's a weak value, or whether it's a moderate value, or whether it's a strong value. Then you have to think about self-esteem. Belief that oneself has value, acceptance of personal flaws, weaknesses, and mistakes, but not allowing yourself to be beating up yourself, and continue to beat yourself up to the point that you're reasonably not allowing yourself to make a mistake, not allowing yourself time to say, okay, today is not a good day, and it's not going to be perfect, and guess what? You know what? Today's going to be timeout day. This is what I'm going to do. And then on top of that, you have to believe in an ability to overcome those challenges, and then go to moving to healthy thinking. It means that you won't be ruminating as much or reminding yourself of those mistakes or personal flaws or problems, but you'll find the ability to consider personal strengths and weaknesses rationally without getting outside of the nomenclature of irrational, illogical thinking. You want to be able to go look at those protective factors and then think about how you want to find the most valuable parts to that during your most difficult times. Then on top of that, are you using and applying those protective factors and whatnot to your advantage in the past, present, or future? And then on top of that, what are your protective factors that you'd like to improve on, so that you can be able to get yourself to the point that whenever a stressful situation comes along, you're coping, you're resilient, and you're able to bounce back better than just, in the general sense of the word, you're not floundering and you're sinking and whatnot. You're able to tread water and figure out what you're going to do. And then think about how things can be different, but you're able to improve the protective factor, motivate yourself to a mitigating level of coping with your life as is. And then on top of that, steps or actions that might help you make goals a reality and also to de-stress. So that is the teaching and coaching for today. I'm hoping that you guys enjoyed this live. I want to make sure that the live coachings are meant for you to improve and find different things that you can identify with, and also to help all of us and myself as well. And the way I help you is by doing these coachings and bringing out the best in you so we can have these breakthroughs. So as you can see, this is what I do. This is what I love to do. So I'll see you next time. Bye.